Oh, Loudkins is back. I turned my thing down though, so like my max volume can't go into the red. I think I had a dream last night about how softly Mikey talks into the mic, or it was just from our podcast. I don't remember. Like I can't remember if it was from the pod or if it was a
His
dream.
voice is
But like
it's slightly seductive when he talks into the mic.
I know.
Yeah.
I envy that. Like I want to be able to talk.
Well, this is
like
why
that,
nobody
but
can
it's
hear me on the
just-
field. I'm going to start over because I have my
Alright,
my
pros and
screen
cons
is
to
back.
everything.
Alrighty. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Pod Practice, Episode 8. The number one place to hear about Ultimate from both the coach and player's perspective. With me, as always, the chillest of bros, Alex Atkins, the king of Nordics, Quinn Feiner. And tonight we welcome in a special guest, the Mama Bird Slayer himself, Liam Searles-Bohs, straight from Darkside practice.
Bro.
Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Again, like I feel like every time I've been on the pod, like something is said to upset me right at the beginning that I'm not aware of. Like last time it was like my athleticism. Now it's like just a reminder of losing to Liam the last 2 years in college nationals.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm doing well.
Liam, have you ever lost to Mama Bird?
I haven't. I just played him those two times, I think. So
twice at nationals.
Yep.
How's everybody doing though?
Damn.
Liam, you doing well?
Doing well. Honored to be on the Pod Practice Pod.
Hell yeah. Just finished up at Darkside practice as well.
Yeah.
How'd that go? How was the practice pre-Easterns?
Just a walkthrough, but it was good. Ready to go this weekend. Some banged up bodies, but should be interesting. It's supposed to be super windy, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. What is the transition been like for you? Are you like coach? What are you? How does the recent alum coaching dynamic work on Darkside?
I'm mostly just getting in the way these days. I didn't do anything in the fall. Definitely wanted to take some time off and give them some space to fill my void, whatever that is. So just kind of gave them space, and then wanted to be around and wanted to contribute in whatever ways I could. So started coming to some stuff in the spring and been coming to tournaments. So it's kind of a unofficial coach role, I would say. Most of what I do is just like give individual feedback and talk to people and help them out when they need help with whatever on-field, off-field stuff.
Are you part of planning at all, or do you leave that to who is it? David Allison that's doing that?
Like practice planning or?
Yeah. Are you involved in that component?
Yeah.
So
as well? Like for Darkside, basically all of practice planning is player run. So like the coaches will give some impact, some like feedback after tournaments about what they saw, but then a lot of the scheduling and like individual practice planning is done by the captains. So we're there to like give feedback and like help out where we can, and like coaches will teach some things, but a lot of the teaching is captains, and a lot of the practice planning is captains.
Wow, that is bananas considering how dominant the program has been. Quinn, what do you think about that? And do you think we should be getting more alumni involved in our Mama Bird practices?
I think we could definitely get more alumni involved, but the fact that it's all like captain led is mind blowing to me, because being a captain of a couple of teams, I don't think I could have done that at any point in my college career, and I don't think I could have done that effectively. And to do it to the extent that you guys do it, and obviously how much success you have is pretty crazy. But yeah, I've definitely thought about getting involved with Bird and stuff like that, but nothing yet. So I think it's definitely valuable to have alumni in there, though.
So for
Kins, what do you think? You're around the team a little bit more. Oh, go ahead, Liam.
Sorry, yeah. Bird is all like coaches do all the practice planning and stuff.
I would say most of it like this semester, for instance, we have we have 5 coaches, but we are all like kind of part-timing it. Bob is probably the most present. I go once a week. TK goes once a week. Nut goes 1 to 2 times a week. KJ 1 to 2 times a week as well. So when we're there, we do all of the planning, but we try to give we just communicate. And if the captains know they have to lead a practice, we'll try to discuss it a little bit ahead of time. But yeah, generally all the teams here in Colorado, at least that the 3 of us are involved with, the coaches run everything at practice.
Nice.
Kinza, what do you think about the alumni piece?
No, it's honestly, that was surprising that Liam said that, especially because I feel like one thing, like you hear about Darkside is how many coaches they have. So just the fact that they defer to the players to plan out the practices is surprising. I mean, I think that was one of Bob's strengths at Bird, was like having a well-run, efficient practice. So it was nice that he would just like plan. I definitely remember feeling like I wanted to know what was going on, and sometimes it felt like I didn't know what was going on, which is fine because we talked about that yesterday. Like maybe as a player, I should just be focusing on playing, which is probably like been one of my issues in the past, is like trying to be more of a coach than I should have been.
I'm interested in this, Liam, because what Kins was saying, he wanted to be more in the loop. Like sometimes we do struggle communicating because we're all super busy, and communicating over Slack or Discord or text, email is kind of tough. So I guess from your perspective, like when you were on the team, I assume you led a lot of the practices. What is it like? I guess so. I'm sure you have a much greater sense of ownership over the team, if you're leading the practice as captains.
Yeah, I think. Well, we use Slack, and like a lot of it is kind of just like round table between like the captains and coaches. So there's like our 4 main coaches are DA, Matt, JD, and Ben Snell. And I think they probably have like a Slack channel with the captains, and then they'll be like, oh, like we're thinking maybe it would be good to go over blah 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 in the next couple weeks, and then the captains will like plan that out. And yeah, I do think it like creates more ownership. Darkside's definitely like a player's team, and the coaches are there to like support and help the team in whatever ways the team needs help, and like either if that's asked or if the coaches like identify things that the team needs help with. But it is like a player's team, and the players like have the final say in all the decisions. Like coaches are never going to override the captains if the captains make a decision.
I am totally just blown away. The idea that all these college players can be like when I watch Darkside is the most fundamentally sound team consistently for the last decade, and also running more advanced stuff than probably any other college team. Is that all player? Like, how are players teaching that? Is that where the coaches and players kind of glue together, or is it truly just the players?
Yeah, it's definitely a collaboration, especially with like, pushing the strategic boundaries. Like in the fall, like coaches will be at practice sometimes, and a lot of the fall is like teaching rookies, teaching younger players, and just like re-upping on like what our systems are. So all that teaching is done by players, done by captains, and it's like the same stuff that I've learned since my first year on Triforce in whatever 2014. So all that stuff is like it's pretty ingrained, and we get a bunch of Triangle kids, so a lot of them already know a lot of that stuff, and we're just recapping information over and over again, and you learn it every fall. And then if you play club,
yeah, that's true.
like you learn it every club season. So by the time you're a junior or a senior, teaching it isn't like, that wild, other than just like the having to speak in front of a group of your peers. But some people are better at it than others. Like Matt Johannes is like unbelievable at teaching concepts. I'm like not that good at it. So I didn't do a ton of it. But yeah, it's like we have some pretty like base set structures and strategies that, become pretty ingrained. So the new stuff definitely is like more
it's
coach,
like
more. Yeah, they'll be like, "Hey, we were thinking maybe
like
you
the
could."
Innovation.
Yeah, we saw this or whatever. Bravo does
But
this.
the players are super good about all the fundamentals. Like, I guess I could ask you about Triangle Ultimate all night, but I definitely want to get to you as a player soon. But you started playing, running the same stuff. YCC was still around back then. Was he your coach?
Yeah, so
YCC?
I started playing U16 YCC, and that was like whatever. It was like U16, so we were kind of just running around out there and trying to score goals.
That was dreads, Liam.
That was
Liam with the
I did not have
dreads.
dreads.
That was crazy.
I had cornrows for a day when I was 12. Not a
cornrows. That's what I meant.
Not an awesome decision by 12-year-old Liam. And
dude, I thought it was sick. I remember I was the first time I played you. I thought it was dope. Cornrows I was a big Iverson fan, so I thought the cornrows were tight.
Yeah, definitely looking back, but
Quinn, what was your first experience playing Liam? Was it also YCC? Do you remember?
Yeah, that's funny. I was just talking about this with my parents last night. So I know exactly what my first experience playing Liam was. It was YCC pool play, and they beat our ass 13-2 in the rain. And every time they scored, Soljanik would run to the brick mark, grab grass out of the ground, and throw it in the air and celebrate. And it was 13-2, and he was still doing that. So that was my first experience. Liam probably had no idea he was playing against me because I was trash then, and so was all of our team. But pretty crazy. I think it was 2015 or 2016.
2016.
2016. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and we lost to Devil 13-2 that tournament as well. So that tells you how well we did then. So.
All right. So the big news of the week is Liam's coming back to the AUDL. What influenced that decision, and what are your thoughts going into preseason? And I guess we're about to start playing games here.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think I was going to play after last club season. I was feeling pretty burnt out, but you know how an off season does. I was like kind of just itching to go again. And yeah, just missing being a part of a team like that. And it's just a bunch of my friends. So an opportunity to see some of my friends a couple times a week. And didn't really want to pass that up.
Miss out.
And yeah, just like didn't want to miss out. And also like didn't want to miss out on like the building that happens over the AUDL season. Going into the club season, wanted to, continue to form those connections and be a part of growing the program through the AUDL season. I'm like not like that
right.
stoked on the AUDL
what is the
as a
integration going to be like?
whole,
You're not that stoked on the AUDL, you said?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is maybe a bigger conversation, but yeah, I definitely like club better. I'm definitely like more in on ring. But yeah, kind of, yeah. integration.
What better time for that conversation than on the pod?
Than on the pod.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Get into it.
Yeah, I just
tell us why.
I think like the early equity stuff was a little bit of a thing for me. I was just nervous about supporting a league that was founded without like a plan for creating access for women and non-binary people to be able to play. And I just still held some misgivings for that. I think like recently they've done a pretty good job of creating opportunities, but also like main things are just like the well, that's the main thing, but other things are just giant field. I'm not that fast, and it's really hard to run around in that giant field.
Big throws though.
Yeah, but you know you got to chase people around a
Big
lot.
Throws,
I don't play in the West, so it's like a lot of small ball, try to play defense on people, and like people just running 40s across the field, chasing after them. At least that's what happened in 2017 when I played before. And yeah, the one game format I don't love a ton. I think
it probably stands to say that you've grown as a player a little bit since then.
A little bit. I don't know. I always think about it. There were like definitely things I was better at then than I am now, but but yeah, I think I'm more.
Yeah, like what?
I don't know. I don't feel that good at. I don't know. I threw all the time then, and I was like really good at throwing hard throws, and I feel like I've maybe regressed a little bit in that way, just because the triangle system.
Like as your role has changed on teams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely just like somewhat, and just in high school, it was just like you have to throw everybody open. So I was like really good at throwing to a spot, and now it's like I have a set of throws that I can complete with at a high level, but I'm not as like creative, I would say.
Don't get in your head, Liam. It's like riding a bike, dude. You just got to shoot, and you just got to keep going. You just got to keep going. You keep throwing them. That wall will break. You know what I mean?
Well,
you don't know how many hits it takes, but it's that wall will break. I got you. I'm here to support my fellow big throwers.
When we had Joe on, Joe talked about Dylan Lanier a little bit and how Dylan had never played on a bad team before. Like Kins and Quinn and Joe, they've all been the best player on their, like by far on a team at some point. So they've carried the load and maybe developed bad habits. So it's interesting to hear you say, because I'm sure you got more touches and you were throwing people to a spot, but maybe not just being chaotic with a disc. Like Quinn, do you remember when you were younger on a team? Like, did you feel that way? Like where you would, if somebody was going to turn it over, it might as well be you.
No, not really, because I think I'm a little out of my depth in this situation because I wasn't a great youth player like Kins and Joe and Liam were. So like I was a good athlete, but I wasn't throwing people open. I wasn't a great thrower. I was just like a good athlete, and that's about it. But so I wasn't really thinking about that. And Frisbee wasn't my first sport at that time either. Like I was still pretty in on hockey.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really thinking about any of that stuff. I was just like playing for fun. But for Liam, don't you think you not having to make those throws, isn't that just a change in not necessarily your role, but the level of the game and just the level of your team as opposed to you just regressing? I feel like it's just a different level of the sport and it's played way differently, and you don't have to make those throws.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I wouldn't say like I can't make those throws necessarily. They're just maybe a little rusty, or a little bit like I don't pull the trigger quite as well. Sorry, Kins. I know. I'm a disappointment. I'm a disappointment to the brand.
I hate to hear all of this. You guys, You guys are lacking vision. Could change the game, man. That's what we're supposed to do as the young
We'll
guns.
see. I
I
might have to bring it back out in the league. Because
there's
a lot of space to throw.
Dude, I was so excited to play in the AUDL because I just felt like 50-yard scubas are never going to be thrown in club. But in the AUDL, I remember it was like the first practice I threw one to nut. And that was I was waiting all year for that first AUDL practice to get the big scubas in.
So on the note of how you see yourself as a player, all of you, let's start with Liam. Like, tell us about yourself as a player. What do you see your strengths and weaknesses as, and what are things that you've had to work on, and things that have been pretty natural for you?
For me, like, I've been playing for a super long time. So I think big thing is just like game sense and yeah, versatility, I guess. That's what I put on like the tryout forms when I have to fill out tryout forms, is like, I'll kind of do whatever you want me to do. And
yeah,
like I won't
the
complain.
true hybrid is Liam.
Yeah, I think like I can kind of do whatever, and after a while I get those skills back up to the level that they need to be for me to do whatever that role is for whatever team I need to play for. So I think that's like a big skill. And then I think my main skill, I think, is like off the field stuff. So culture, like I've just been a part of a bunch of really good teams, and I kind of know what that feels like, and I'm good at saying the things that need to be said and bringing people together to like achieve a bigger goal. I think that's like the main thing, or the most important thing that I'm good at.
So your first year in Ring, I think you played offense, and you've transitioned over to defense. What about that part of your game? Do you see yourself more as a D or O player?
Yeah, so I played 2018 and 2019 on O for Ring, and then in 2021 I started playing D. 2021 Ring D-line was the first time I'd ever played D-line for a team, other than the juniors team, and like the first time I'd ever played D-line for a real team. So it was like totally different, and I definitely see myself as an O-line player, or at least I did up to that point. I think like playing D-line helped me a ton, and like continues to help a ton. I would recommend it for any long-time O guys. I think it just kind of like changes the mentality a little bit, and made me a much better defender, and I think a better offensive player, just because of like the value of like when you get the disc, you like really value it in a way that on O it's kind of like, yeah, if we get broken, we just get the disc back again. So yeah, I think yeah, I definitely see myself as an O player, and I think like in the long term I'm an O-line player.
Probably transition back.
Yeah.
Kins and Quinn, maybe Quinn, I'll start with you. Same question, like, well, your strengths and weaknesses, but both of you have been playing offense for a while now, but have had stints on the D line. Do you see, or do you identify in a specific way?
I'm at this point, I identify hard as an O-line player. But I second when Liam said I played 2 years of D-line for Bravo, and I think that was like the first time I'd played D-line, and since I didn't play in high school, I didn't play in college, and then I played D-line on U24s, but Bravo kind of came before that, and it really did just like change your perspective on the game. Like D is so hard, and it as an O-line player now, it just gives you so much more respect for those guys that are going out and doing that, in my opinion, kind of shitty job of just like grinding and playing 10 points and getting like one turn in high level games. It's like, God damn, that sucks. But hell yeah, thanks boys. Like, thanks for letting me just kind of sit on the O-line and have fun.
Yeah. What do you think about the saying that O-line can only lose games and D-lines win games.
It's 100% true. Like, if it's all holds and you pulled on the first point, you lose. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta win through D.
Yeah, that's fair.
You gotta win through D.
Yeah.
I think it's not always
Yeah, I
true.
guess that's
It's
fair.
not always true. Because like if your O line plays a perfect game and your D line gets one break, like I would say, your O line probably won that game, but it's majority of the time true.
Right. I guess if you're assuming, like, yeah, when you put it in the way of like if no one gets a break, then it's just whoever started on first. But if you assume that there's like usually some breaks in a game, then I feel like that's when it breaks down. Because if your O line is just holding all the time very consistently, like you're gonna win games. Even like thinking about Truck, right? Because I think Truck's defense was pretty mediocre, and I think their offense was
phenomenal,
and so they would be like a counterpoint.
I feel like pretty mediocre is a little harsh. Like they still had a good D line.
I'm gonna go with pretty mediocre at best. Like I felt like level of
resistance
against them. I also had 2 good games against them, but I don't know. The other teams, I think even if you just like look at our stats, like we did way worse against Sockeye, against not Machine, but against Rhino. And like we didn't get in like 2 games against Truck, we got broken like 4 times.
Yeah. Liam, what's your
maybe even 4 times?
You played Truck in quarters. Did you play them at all previously in that season last year? What's your
pro
champs?
We played them.
What's your take on the Truck team?
I thought they were so good. Like their O was like, I think their O has like changed the way the sport is played at this point. I know they lost to y'all, but I think just like how dominant they were all season, like having a bunch of people who could throw really well on the O line, I think was like, and like the spaces that they through to the spaces that they attacked. I think like I know we're thinking a lot about like what they did effectively and yeah, I thought that team was really good. I thought their D was like totally fine.
Nothing special.
Yeah, I thought that it was like a good D line. It was like a pretty normal Truck D line, and then like the O is just like
they could churn. I did think once Truck got it, they were pretty good at keeping it. Maybe not providing as much resistance as other D lines. It doesn't mean that they were bad, but yeah, agreed. Do you think? I guess one thing about Truck is we did beat them, but they were consistently the best team all year. Like I think it's not a hot take to say they're probably more likely to stay consistent than we are going into next season, especially like considering some roster turnover. Kins, what do you think about that? You think that's if you take Bravo O versus Ring O versus Truck O, like Ring also one of the top O lines
for consistency?
Yeah, like who would you expect to just hit the ground running most likely of like some of the top teams, including Rhino, including Pony?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Truck definitely up there. They're going to be I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know. But you think they're going to come back pretty hungry, and I do like how like Liam said, kind of redefining it. Like I love how they just had a bunch of good throwers, and as a thrower, that makes me feel good because I feel like I've always thought like throwing is just so important. Like athleticism, great, but like the throwing allows for so much, and they showed that like ability to just complete passes at a high rate, and just like it's insane. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what next year is going to be. Super interesting. You said they're like more consistent than us. I take offense to that. I'm anti that take. I think they're gonna be good. I mean, they were gonna triple crown like last year. So it I don't know. I guess probably like if you were preseason ranking, like they're probably number one.
Yeah.
If I was making the rankings, I'll probably put them number one. I don't know. I don't know about number two. That's a tough spot. I don't know. It really gets tossed up there after
Yeah.
that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
It is going to be.
I'm not sure.
Uh,
Is Ring going to bounce back, Liam? After I don't know, maybe
yeah. What's the roster
some would
situation,
say-
Liam? Is Oscar going to go play New York?
I don't know, man.
Do you know yet?
I don't know. Yeah.
Liam Baum.
Liam Baum.
I was listening to the Rowan Jack podcast. Even Jack was like, I don't know where I'm playing. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
What's up
I
with
think
that?
there's a lot up in the air right now, honestly.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of places, like, I don't know where a bunch of people are going to like shake out, but yeah, I think it's been like a little bit of a challenge for us to have travel players the last couple years. Even in 2021, I mean, it was such a short season that it was a little easier and people came in for big chunks of time. But I think it's like, you've seen it with a lot of teams that have a lot of travel players. Like, it's pretty draining. So we'll see where people shake out. But I think even just like the people who travel, it's like you just get burnt out, like doing all that stuff. So
For them, yeah.
yeah. So we'll
Who
see.
was anybody traveling besides Jack and Ryan?
Yeah, Jack Ryan, John.
Oh, Nut.
And Charlie McCutcheon was traveling down from DC. But yeah, it was like
from DC. Wow.
Yeah, or outside of DC from Virginia.
So presumably if you lose Ryan and Jack, makes sense to me that Liam was going to be playing O next year.
Could slot in there for sure.
Fill one of those ISO spots, those initiation spots.
It's a long time from now.
There is a play that just came to mind. I think this is probably when Nut was still on the team. On the O line, U.S. Open. Do you remember this? You're playing Pony. I don't remember if it was semis or finals. There were like no turns, and I think it was Nut. I can't remember for sure. Through this huge shot, and you full extension layout caught this goal at the back line, but the observer called you out. Do you remember this?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you rewatched it?
Yeah, that was maybe my best club game ever. I played super well in that game. Yeah, it was 2018 U.S. Open semis against Pony, and yeah, it was clean through like 6-6 or something, and Dylan threw me that hook, and I caught it.
Dylan.
I caught it inbounds, and the observer called it out.
Replay
and then
shows
They
inbounds.
They replayed it on the screen in the stadium, and like everybody's like yelling, "Oh, he was in!" And Ike Saul yells, "He was out!" like louder than everybody else. And I was just like obviously in, which is like so classic Isaac Saul. But yeah, that was a fun game. It was a bummer to lose in semis again after having all those guys had lost in semis of every tournament for the last 5 years. But that was like the first time I got to play in a big game like that. So that was a cool experience.
Yeah, so you were on the team. That was your first or second year on the team?
That was my first year. So yeah, my first year was 2018.
Holy smokes, man! Yeah, that kind of goes in. I could take this in so many directions. Maybe I'll start this route because I can ask it to the other guys too. So you weren't around for all of Ring's suffering those universe point losses in semis, but you were around for a number of them. Can you talk a little bit about getting over the hump in 2021 and what that feeling was like? And I can't even imagine after so many years of near success.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just 2 years losing on Universe in semis. Or was it? Yeah, I think it was Universe both years. But like for a bunch of those guys, they'd lost like in semis since 2014, I guess. And yeah, and just like a long history of brutal losses in Rings history, like a 2000, I don't know what year it was, but like early 2000s year where they like lost in the finals or semis. Like a team came back by like, 6 points and they were like gonna win nationals, and like just a bunch of really brutal losses. And like, getting over that hump and like winning the first one for Ring was like really special and meant a lot to a lot of people. And it was like really cool to be a part of that group after like, a team that's like been in nationals for however many years in a row, and been around for such a long time.
It's also one of the oldest teams. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, and like
I want to come back to you. I'll finish that.
Yeah, just like
I got a little bit of lag.
No, you're good. I just grew up watching Ring, and like winning the national championship is like, my dream as, a 11, 12, 13-year-old. It's like pretty amazing, especially like with that group of people that I grew up playing with. So yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Oh my, I want to ask you about that too. I'm going to come back to you on some of the championship questions. But Kins and Quinn, I guess I'll start with Quinn again. Having been on the team, having been on Bravo, it wasn't the same as Liam's, where the team had lost in semis a bunch, but like Bravo had great success 2014, obviously winning nationals and losing Jimmy. So you went through like some dark times of the team. I think probably when you started on the team, probably had a lot of high expectations, and then some dark times, and then a big ramp up into last year. What was the journey like for you?
So first year that I was playing was after they lost to was it to
Ironside in semis?
Ironside in semis, and then I didn't play the next year either, I don't think. And then they lost in like quarters to Dub or something like that in Florida, I think. And then I started playing, and I still feel like expectations were pretty high for us just because we'd been good in the past, but we had a bunch of turnover. Jimmy moved on, Nick Lance was gone, a bunch of people stopped playing. And this was my first exposure in like high level frisbee, and I was just kind of like, yeah, we'll be great. And then we came in and we won Co-Cup, and there's like a bunch of good teams there, but it turned out to be Temper Bravo in the final, and we won Co-Cup, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we are. We're super sick, and then it just all went downhill from there, and it was pretty eye opening for me because I didn't quite understand like how many good players and how many good teams there were out there quite yet. And so when we started playing these teams, I'm like, wow, like there is so many good players, so many good teams. And the realization of us like rebuilding kind of hit me like halfway through that season. And the rebuilding process is super difficult. And then like we add Nut, and I'm like, okay. And we add Nut and Joel Schlock, and I'm like, okay, like we're going to make a run at it this year. And we have like our worst year that we've ever had in 10 years. And I was just like, dude, like how do we overcome this hump? And it just started to work out. Like everybody started to believe in each other, and we just started to build a team that everybody was starting to have fun. Like it felt like in the years past that we were just so serious to the point where it was almost not fun. It was almost like we're playing to just beat everybody and win, even though we're not doing that. And then last year, it just kind of like, even when we were losing, everybody was still having a great time, and it just kind of
usually
all fell together.
Not
always, but usually. And it just all fell together after that, and it was just a great cherry on top at the end, of course. But it was pretty crazy couple of years.
I have a question.
Kins, what about you? I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. Can I ask Quinn a follow-up question? I'm just interested in that. The cultural.
By the way, ask all the questions you would like.
I'm just interested in the cultural shift, and like, are there individuals that you think of as like leaders of that? I know like the Bird influx after the after that Lotus season. That did the Kins culture piece come in and just change the whole scene?
Yeah, Kins is the main reason why. No, it was definitely not Kins.
In spite of Kins, somehow
1 for 1.
Somehow we managed to glue it together, even with Kins trying to tear us apart at the seams.
I think it was a couple of things. It was people like Denny, Todd, and Ben, the guys that had been there for a long time, been doing it for a long time. Kind of like embracing the new players. It was like it was a whole new team pretty much. And they embraced it really well. And I talk so highly of Ben all the time in this podcast, but Ben was just like an amazing leader even through the dark times. Like he was always super, super positive and such a great leader for the team. But yeah, the young guys are like, I guess I don't even consider myself a young guy in the team anymore because I'm like a couple years older than half the team now somehow. But people like Alex Tatum and we had a all players meeting after we lost in the regional final to Dub, and he was just like, we sat down and was like, hey guys, like what do we want to get out of this? If it's not winning, like what do we want to get out of this? And we just kind of went around and we just all bonded super hard on the fact that, we all want to be here so bad and we all want to win, but like it's bigger than just the results we're getting. It's about us having a good time with each other and building the connections, and winning and doing that aren't mutually exclusive was like the biggest takeaway. And it's crazy to think that we had this huge shift like right before nationals, but that's what it felt like in my mind. Like just something clicked for us after that meeting, and we felt invincible, even though when we were losing, we were like, like we lose the GOAT in pool play of nationals, and it was all fine. We were like, yeah, we'll still make bracket. It's not a big deal. Like long way to go here. So it was pretty crazy to watch the shift for sure, as one of like the younger guys that was on both teams. But yeah, people like Ben, Denny, Todd, and then new players like Plow, and it was awesome.
Do you think a previous iteration of the team could have done that if you had a similar meeting?
I don't really. I think everybody was, and this isn't a bad thing, but everybody was super stuck on like the hardo way of playing frisbee, like back in the day. Just like, I don't know, it just all seemed so hardo back when we were playing.
Cole is listening to this podcast, Quinn. You are gonna get called out in the Slack.
I love Cole. Cole's great.
He'll find a way to call Kins out.
Kins was laughing while Quinn was talking about that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think previous iterations of the team could have done it. I think there was just too many big personalities and too many people that, like, when we would bring it in and talk in a circle, like a million people would have to say something. And last year it was like one person says something and that was it. And that's all we needed. Even people that like wanted to say something didn't feel like they absolutely had to. In previous years, it was just like everybody had something to say and everybody wanted to be the leader, and nobody wanted to buy into this specific system because they thought they knew a better way to do it. It probably wouldn't have happened.
Kins, I'll come back to you, but I want to go back. Keep saying the culture piece and the championship team mentality, because Liam, like every fucking team you've been on has been really good. I don't know if I guess this has been your worst finish, but the team was still really good. And have you ever been part of a team with bad culture? Like what are the team environments like? I mean, so many of the players you've been playing with have been good since like they were 14, and you've tested your mettle. You're by the time you played college semis, college finals, you've already played YCC semis and YCC finals. So like, what is that? Does it feel like you have been there before, even though it's like a new stage? Can you just talk a little bit about the culture that all the Triangle teams have?
Yeah, it's kind of a big question, but I don't know if I'm qualified to answer it. But I think personally,
you might be the most qualified.
maybe I don't know, but I think personally, like, yeah, I felt like I never felt like super uncomfortable playing in big games. Even though like the stage was bigger, I'd like played in games that felt really important to me before. And I think that's the biggest thing is like your own narrative, or for me at least, like my own narrative around like a game. So like I'd played in games that I like really cared about, and I'd had the experience of like not performing in those games, and I'd had this like experience of performing in those games. And um so I think, yeah, when I got to college um and then playing in club, like I feel like I love that feeling. I love the ends of tournaments. And like playing in those games is
Do you
like
get
the most
nervous?
fun. Yeah, definitely. Nervous, but like that's a big part of the joy of it is like it, like, you know, we're all as humans, we're meaning making machines, and like, you know, this is something that we like
Yeah.
have placed tons of meaning on, and we get to go like do it.
Uh-huh.
And like that's such a cool thing that like
So
it's just
lucky. Yeah, we're so fortunate.
yeah, like, you know, we could make meaning of anything in our lives, but like we choose to make meaning of this really silly frisbee sport, and then we get to like go compete at the highest level, and
Yeah.
like that's just so cool and such a privilege. So that's a lot of what I don't necessarily feel that in the moment. I'm mostly just like really fucking nervous, and like want to do well and want to make my teammates proud.
Have
And
you
wanna
ever
make,
been have you
yeah.
ever been nervous playing against Mama Bird?
Yeah, I was so fucking nervous in the fall. Like, cause I watched y'all for the whole, like, no, I was really nervous. The time I was most nervous was watching the double wide game from regionals. I was like y'all's double wide game with Lotus. I was like, how the fuck are we going to beat this
Yeah.
team? Like, these guys are like better. Like, they're like a really good club team. And like Kins making that like whatever the going away D. I was like, dude, if this guy comes down on me, I don't know if I don't know if I'm ever gonna get open, or I'm just gonna look stupid. But
Wait, what D?
there was
Or
like
just
no,
like
there
in
was one
general?
in the double wide game where like, or no, it was a catch. I think it was a catch. It was like a big
You probably
layout,
were skying
Yeah.
like
Abe.
going away, like you were kind of like laid out over somebody to catch it. It was like you were really out of position.
Oh no, that was in the Cal Poly game.
No.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That
I know
was
that play too.
the
I wasn't nervous then. There was no
in the
time to be
double wide
nervous at
game,
that point. In the double wide game, I don't know.
and that
It was
kid
just
sucked. But yeah, I don't.
It was just some huge play.
I think
I don't really remember.
Kin
was on defense
scored
or offense.
deep on Abe probably twice on
Yeah.
in transition.
That was D line. That was D line
Yeah.
Kins. D line Kins was a menace because he could be fully angry all the time.
Kins, do you ever get nervous in games?
Oh yeah, of course. It's I think I've just started to. I mean, the finals this year was by far the best I've ever handled it because I think our team was in such a good mindset that I was just there to play frisbee, have a good time. And we talked about it on the last pod, but like I wasn't distracted by anything else. I think I had a lot of years of trying to do too much in big games and playing differently in a big game or quote unquote big game than I would have in a quote unquote not as big of a game. So that was like a big struggle that I had to overcome growing up, just trying to do too much. And I think, and I talked about it actually after we beat Machine, because I was like, this is the first time, like, as a player, that I'm fully able to like just let go and like trust that the team can win. Like, if I have a really bad game or if I play really well, like, I'm not worried because I trust the team will, no matter what, like, will have my back. And I think that was a big problem in years past, was not feeling like I had to do a lot or have a really good game and therefore like forcing the issue. And doing that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question for Liam too. We all, like everybody that wants to be great at something puts a ton of pressure on themselves, like internal pressure. Like I know I put so much internal pressure on myself to perform, and I'm sure like both of you guys do too. But for you,
But not Mikey.
well,
Mikey
pressure.
doesn't,
Mikey
put that
doesn't
pressure
play
on
anymore,
himself.
so. But for you, like you've had so much external pressure on you. Like the spotlight's been on you since you were playing YCC. How do you deal with like all of that? Because I'm kind of new to the external pressure. I've always put a ton of internal pressure on myself, but I'm newer to having like external pressure. But you've been dealing with it since you were probably 16. I just kind of want to like hear what you have done to kind of deal with it and how it's kind of felt.
Thanks for the question. I like didn't read any Ultiworld for a long time. Most of college, I just didn't like engage. So that made it easier. Like I just wasn't like paying attention to it, and it wasn't in my, just like not in my calculation really. And then another thing is like, I think there are definitely like moments where I like want to be great as an individual, but I think most of my motivation comes from like being good for a team. And I don't like, I'm not like that invested in my like personal success, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like I'm invested in the teams that I play for and growing with the teams that I play for. And like, I think that's been an issue for me. Like I'm not great at like motivating myself to work out or like do stuff out of season, just because like the thing that I'm good at is like being really focused on a task with a team. So I think like a lot of it is just like internal focus on team, focus on controllables, and like focus on the things that I really love, which are like individual moments with teammates. I know it sounds cliche, but
no, this is what we love though.
Yeah. I just don't like low key. I like really don't care, like about about what people are saying.
The external stuff.
I like, if I bring people joy or they bring whatever, like I'm happy to be like, have people talk about me if that does something in their life. But like, I don't, I'm not really engaged with that other than like, like if it creates relationships.
So you talked
or whatever,
about, cool. You were talking earlier about this being one of your strengths, like the team culture piece. Is that something you was always natural then? Like, did somebody teach you this? How were these things instilled in you? I mean, you're still a young player, relatively speaking. It's honestly, it's a pretty mature thing for somebody to have as part of their game for such a long time already.
Yeah, I think like it kind of comes back to your previous question about like winning culture and what winning, whatever, pressure in those moments, that big question that I was scared of. I think like the really successful teams that I've been a part of, like that's what it feels like. It feels internally focused. And I think it's like, it's one, the way I am, and it's a strategy. It's like, that's winning for me. Like winning for me is like doing the effective things, and the effective things are not like reading Ultiworld. The effective things are not like, each decision you make leads you towards, one decision leads you towards losing, and one decision leads you towards winning. And it's about like picking winning a lot of the time. And sometimes that doesn't look like what you think. Like some days winning is like eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and like, some days winning is like running 8 miles, and like it changes. So I think like
it's funny that you say that's winning.
I mean, it is context. Like it's all like context, and just like making choices about like what you feel what you know. And like, I've had experiences with winning teams enough to know like it's important for me to be happy, to be like pursuing winning, you know, like if I'm not happy, like I'm not going to be able to like engage well with my teammates. I'm not going to be able to make my teammates happy. I'm not going to be able to perform in the way that I need to perform for my team to be successful. So I think like balancing my life and balancing like, you know, what goes into like a winning season.
Do you feel like you have to make personal sacrifices, or is it just innately at this point kind of who you are? Like you're happy in the state of being a great teammate. Do you ever feel like you're making a sacrifice, or is it just natural?
No, I mean, I think there are tons of sacrifices you have to make. Like a lot of those decisions are like sacrificing decisions, putting the team above yourself, putting teammates above yourself, putting the team above teammates, you know, like hard decisions about priorities and things like that. And it's like, it is totally exhausting. I think that's like a big part of why I get burnt out on Frisbee, is like a season is super exhausting. And like,
mentally, physically, and everything.
I'm just like thinking about the team all the time and like weighing the decisions I'm making all the time about like, is this good for the team? Am I protecting the team with this decision? So.
Right.
The cost of
I was
buying
about
in.
to say that, Kins.
Totally. It's always worth it, though.
New title.
That's gonna be my book one day. The cost of buying in. I'm gonna copyright it soon.
Don't steal it.
I love it.
No, Liam could steal it. He might be able to write the book better. It sounds like. I think I'm newly. I'm newly. Yeah.
Liam, do you have a favorite team that you've been a part of over the years?
Or season.
Yeah, I think that this past, like my last Darkside spring season was super special. I mean, of course, there are like lots of seasons when I was a little kid that were like, or like in high school that were like really awesome with my like, you know, my high school friends. But I think this past Darkside season was like super special in how much we grew, how much we weren't like even close to the best team at the beginning of the season. And we like really committed to the culture, committed to each other. And I think like
you motherfuckers,
just got way better.
God damn it!
I know you got so good.
God damn it, you figure it out.
God.
Yeah, it was,
and that's what was crazy is
I feel like it was similar to y'all's, to the Bravo Nationals, in that like I felt like with y'all, like a bunch of y'all had the best tournament you'd ever played, and I think it was the same way for us. Like a bunch of players just played the best Frisbee they'd ever played, and it like is kind of like the confluence of a bunch of different factors, and like people getting healthy and like culture stuff, and you know, just that feeling, like it's just like a really cool feeling of like, wow, we really did that, and like I wasn't sure if we could. And so
yeah, when it coalesces like that, it is such a good feeling. You know, when friends or other people tell me like that, you know, we didn't have the best team, whatever that means, it does make me super proud, honestly, because it means that all the other factors played or weighed in heavily. The things that like all teams are striving for. You know, we could have a superstar team, and you know, all the teams in semis, all the teams in quarters had a lot of stars on their teams, but that feeling of it coming together it's unreal. It's unlike anything else. Like it's much better, in my opinion, than having a superstar team when you're just thinking about like, well, if we don't win, then what's the fucking point? That growth part is what's so special.
totally.
When Kins comes back from injury. Is that what you're referring
Everything
to?
comes together when
The
Kins comes back.
Yeah. Do you want to hear another Cole hot take, Kins?
Yeah. We got worse.
What? Oh,
we got worse when I came
back. His take
back.
is you just weren't healthy long enough to have a negative impact on our culture.
That's really funny, I guess, to hear. But I honestly I'm okay with that, I guess, if if I came back and we won every game. First game slow with GOAT, and then every other game after that. It was funny, earlier we were talking about like all the struggles of club that Quinn and Liam had and how just 1 for 1 with Bravo.
Yeah, I didn't ask you your thoughts, Kins.
No, those were my thoughts. 1 for 1. I mean, Patrol was just not really competitive, so I don't think my expectations.
So, when do you consider the start of your club career then?
No, I mean I consider it on Patrol. It's just that the thing about Patrol was I just didn't think I had such a minuscule role that I felt was not maybe I was a lot younger than all those guys, but I was just not doing that much. And so it was my first year I was on D line, but it wasn't even I played every D point. It was I'd play every couple maybe D points. And we didn't make nationals either year. So it was and then the next year I played offense and I was just a handler and I would cycle in between some other handlers. And it was okay, this is. So that was the first year I had a role. It went well with Bravo.
You don't consider Lotus a thing? Was that just college season?
Oh, Lotus. I forgot about that. Honestly, Lotus does not even feel it felt like college. It did not feel like club. It's so weird. Well, I think especially with, I mean, I don't know. It's similar. Yeah. I mean, because with Lotus, I really there were no expectations to Patrol Lotus. There was no, literally no expectations. With Bravo, it's okay, we could definitely compete to win everything. With those teams, there was just I don't even know what the goal is just play another game, I guess. I don't know. There was yeah.
All right, so let's go into feedback here a little bit. Liam, I'll start with you this time. When you think about, do you have a philosophy about giving or receiving feedback at practice, and is it different at tournaments and interacting with teammates or people you now coach?
That's a great question. I think that's a big reason for Darkside success is really super open lines of communication. So we make it really abundantly clear that anyone is welcome to give anyone else feedback. And I think generally people do a really good job of being accepting and open to that feedback. We do we play a lot of threes, a lot of small side, on non-practice days. And I think that's just for a ton of people, but we play mixed threes with Pleiades, and it's has been a huge part of a ton of people's on-field development. And a lot of that is through just really constant feedback, after a rep, just two people, or if there's miscommunication or whatever, just going over what happened, people say their perspectives, and then you just move on. And yeah, I think there's just really constant feedback. I think the tournament versus practice, I mean, for us with Darkside, tournaments are information generally, regular season tournaments we see as information, and opportunities to gather information about ourselves against non-us opponents.
Yeah.
So there's less need for, we're basically just testing what we have at tournaments, and then practice is the time where we build on what we have. So there's some feedback, but a lot of that is more top-down feedback during tournaments, more coach to player, and captain to player feedback. But there's still lots of recapping, the D will come off and I'll talk about the last point and what happened or whatever. But I think more so at practice.
How many days a week do you practice? Does Darkside practice?
How many days a week do they practice? I think there are 3 mandatory practices and an optional practice. Yeah, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah, 3 practices, and then Monday time is
And then there's
optional time.
And there's almost always a small-sided mini game on off days.
At least once a week, there's a small-sided game, and then there's gym time, 1 or 2 days a week, generally. Yeah, bunch of stuff.
The small-sided day is pretty interesting to me because that's I don't know if we've ever formalized that over here. I know I probably don't hear about that stuff because it's probably player led. What's your training regimen like? Because you mentioned earlier that in the off season you don't it's hard to motivate for yourself to work out. Are you in the gym at all? What's your routine?
For me personally, I want to hear the other people's perspectives on the previous question also, but the feedback thing, I'm super interested in the feedback, but I don't really work out. I lift a little bit.
How
in
do you
season.
do it, man?
Dude.
Is this like the first? This is probably like the first off season
Same
you've
with
ever
Joe
had.
too.
I'm not
because
Joe
you've been
though.
like
I'm not
back to back with college and club.
Yeah, I just like body run down, and just like I don't really like lifting weights. I do it. I did it like whenever you see me make a really athletic play, that's like I had lifted for the month before. Like in the fall. In the fall,
So you do see the benefit, at least.
Yeah, I totally see the benefit. That's the terrible part about it. Is like I think it just comes back to like I'm not that invested in myself as a player, and like so like the off seasons are hard, and yeah, I do
Ben and Jerry's. It's
yeah,
a win.
Yeah, it's a win.
Jerry's is a win.
Yeah, I do physical labor. Like that's my job. I mill lumber. So that's like I'm like on my feet and active all day every day. And like lifting stuff. So it's like I'm not, and I like run some. I like running distance sometimes.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just like playing frisbee. And then like in season or leading up to stuff, I lift some, do some deadlifts and squats and stuff. I'd like to do more.
That's similar to Plow for a long time. Plow was a physical labor guy. Yeah, I'll jump back to this, but let's go back to feedback first. Quinn, do you have anything you want to add to that topic?
So first I want to say it's I think the feedback loop that you guys have in North Carolina is like it's super super sick, and I think it's a little bit underrated. I don't think people understand how hard it is to have everybody accepting to feedback and willing to take feedback and willing to give feedback. I think it's even slightly an issue we've had in Colorado through my college career and even into my club career, where people just aren't super good at taking feedback. People will make excuses and they'll say, well, but this, and it's so hard to get people to, even from captains, even from coaches. Like I've been a captain of Bird. I was captain of Bird for 2 or 3 years, Captain Bravo last year. It's like people just always tend to make excuses or kind of brush it off because we're more peers than we are captains or coaches. Like when I give people feedback, I feel like a lot of people look at me as a peer and don't really take the feedback from me, and they kind of make excuses. So I think it's really commendable and super sick that you guys have that open feedback loop.
Yeah.
And like when I came into Bird, like there was no way I was even allowed to give people feedback. Or when I came into Bravo, like no one was going to take shit from me. Like all of that is something that, like, again, going back to the culture shift, it's like it's something recently that we've started to kind of move away from and shift. And it was long and difficult to do that. But that's kind of my take on the Colorado scene. Like that's definitely a weak point for the Colorado Ultimate scene.
Yeah.
At least the teams I've been a part of.
Yeah. Kins, I'll pass it over to you. One comment about the Colorado community. I don't know if it's true, but I wonder if we have more differing backgrounds than other areas. But I imagine most areas probably do struggle with feedback in general and communication and being accepting of it. The fact that the Triangle has been doing it since they were in middle school is probably beneficial in terms of building those skills, both listening and giving. But we have a lot of differing, not just Frisbee opinions, Frisbee backgrounds, but also like social backgrounds. People come from a lot of different places, and that may factor into some of it. Kenzo, this is your favorite topic, feedback.
I know, and I've been thinking about it. Like, I'm kind of at the point now where, like, personally, I'm just not going to give feedback to most people because I feel like most of the time it's just not. It doesn't go well. Like, I don't think it really has an effect that I would want it to have. Like, in my ideal world, it'd be like, yo, if you just like let them run to the sideline a little bit earlier because like they're not going to get the disc there and like stop as a defender, like that would be really helpful. But I don't think like it, like, rarely ever is it like I give someone feedback, they implement it, and then like the perfect situation like
Manifest
occurs. Like, I think most of the time it's like we're gonna like get into like a debate about what's going on, or like it's gonna piss them off because now they think I'm like personally attacking them as a player. Like, I think what I've noticed is like with younger players, like I went to a couple like bird practices and stuff, like younger players who maybe like look up to me more, they're gonna at least be more receptive to it and like open to it. Whereas like if I try to give like someone in my grade or like my year feedback, it usually doesn't go as well. Where like those younger guys will be more receptive, but even still, like I don't think it's always like I'm kind of at the point where unless someone asks me something, I'm just going to focus on like doing those things myself and hopefully people notice. Cause I kind of got to the point where like unless people want to get better at ultimate or that specific thing, like honestly just going up to them, like it, for me personally, I was finding that it doesn't really help. And I've kind of done a 180, and I don't think that's the perfect way. And I'm sure that there's a way to give
like a happy medium.
I
probably.
I will say, like, this is going to be like a Kins and Quinn like growth over, you know, the 4 years or 5 years we played together or whatever. But like the first couple years we played together, we were both shit at taking feedback and giving feedback, and we would both try to give and take feedback from each other, and it would always result in us like getting in arguing or like yelling matches. But over probably the last year, I think we've had such good chemistry because now that we see each other more as equals, we take feedback from each other and actually implement it. Like I truly believe that we had a lot of success at nationals because we would talk through stuff and we would take each other's feedback constantly. And I don't have that with many other players on the teams I played on. There's definitely a couple, but I think we have gotten better at that. And I wish the whole team would be like that. And I'm gonna call out someone. I think Calvin could learn from this a bit. Calvin's a hard person to give feedback to because he's not good at taking it. But it's always
just like when you're like emotional people. Like that's why I love Buck so much. Is like Buck and I can tell each other what we think.
Be a Vulcan.
The other person
be a robot. Leave your emotions at the door. I'm actually kind of
not
completely.
Yeah, like
maybe I should say leave your ego at the door is probably the better way to say it.
Right, because like what my favorite thing about Buck is like when we live together is like we could talk about ultimate, we could talk about the practice, the tournaments, and Buck will just tell me like straight out, like Kins, like you can't get upset or like whatever, right? And I'll be like, Buck, like you have to throw a better flick, right? But like it doesn't we don't get pissed off. Then we like talk about how we can get better at those things, and it's just like a great way to get better at something. Because like as much as I can assess like what I need to get better at, a lot of things that I need to get better at need to be told to me by someone else. And so it's fantastic when you can have those people that you trust. Because the other thing is it needs to be someone like I need to have played with them or have spent a lot of time with them to be able to have these conversations. Like I can trust Buck's opinion because we've played so much together, and I know we have a good relationship that it's an opinion that I can trust. Whereas if it's someone I've my first practice and they're gonna, maybe tell me what I suck at, maybe you don't know.
There's that continuity piece. And maybe that's an advantage that the Triangle area has. Like Liam, hearing this, does anything pop out or come to mind? Like, do you have at times struggles in your area?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do think there are struggles. Like there are just individual relationships that don't work as well for feedback, giving or receiving feedback. Like a lot of what I'm thinking about is Darkside, which is pretty specific. I don't Darkside isn't, my experience on Darkside is not indicative of the way the entire Triangle functions. Darkside's pretty special.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing on Darkside is we just see feedback as investment. If someone is willing to take the time to think about you and think about a thing that either you did well, I try and give at least 5 pieces of positive feedback for every piece of negative feedback I give someone. Totally. I'm pretty much always trying to just get my positive feedback quotas up. So I can just rip into people when I want to.
That's a great one, honestly.
I struggle with that one.
But more than that, I love when people give me feedback because that means that they care about me. They care about me as a player. They care about the team, the goals that we have. Our goal is to iterate and iterate and iterate until we have the best team we can have. And if we're not communicating,
love that word. Yeah.
If we're not communicating, if we're not
then what are you even
having
doing,
our hive mind working?
The whole point is to get better.
Yeah. Why are we just we shouldn't just be a bunch of individuals trying to pursue this goal without figuring out actually how we're working with each other, because it's team sport. So I think that's a big thing, is just one, Darkside has a saying, we don't challenge people we don't care about. So challenging each other, pushing each other, competing with each other, and the care, we care about each other. We want what's best for each other. And feedback is a big way that we show that. We show investment in each other's games, in the team's performance.
Do you ever wish people would give you more feedback? Speaking from just personal experience on teams I've been on, when I've been on the upper side of the roster, I found that I don't get feedback very much. It's extremely rare for people to give me feedback, and I wish it would be more common, but I don't know. Did you find when you're on the upper side of a roster, you would get far less feedback than in years past?
Yeah, totally. That's something we talk about a ton, is when you're a young player, it's you're super lucky because a bunch of people are watching you, a bunch of people are giving you tons of feedback. And once you become a person who gives more feedback, of course, everyone's free to give feedback to each other, but it generally happens where people who know more give feedback to people who know less generally. So you just get less and less feedback because there are fewer people who actually have things to give you feedback on. So that's definitely something I try and communicate to younger players, is get all the feedback you can now. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Just nuggets of wisdom.
Welcome to the club, Quinn. Welcome to the
No one's been able to give
VIP.
No one's been able to give Kids feedback for a long time, He's been at the top.
Yeah, but it's not because he's on the top of the roster.
No.
He's such a douche, and it's really hard to.
I was actually, I disagree with you, Quinn. You were I think one of my strengths was actually receiving. I always thought that one of my strengths was being pretty
Shut up.
But then
oh my God,
I'm gonna. Okay, but Mikey,
I'm listening.
Mikey, what do you think? Well, what do you think about that? If you, for you as someone who had to give me a lot of feedback as a coach, did you think that I received feedback poorly?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Sure, there are times that
Haters,
let me
man. These are just haters. These are just
let me
haters,
expound
bro.
a little bit. Like
Maybe I respond poorly in the moment, but I think I wouldn't have grown as a player if I wasn't listening to what people were saying.
Well,
about me.
let me listen for a second, please. You're always willing to have the conversation. That is true, and that's, I think, step number one. A lot of times, the conversation has to be, well, maybe not anymore, but in the past had to be 30 minutes or 60 minutes, like long individual attention. Especially when you're coming back from injury. The labrum one, I think, like you were your shitty teammate for a while, and we had to talk. That was a big part of your journey, and one reason why you're so much better now. And when you talk about things like giving less feedback and why it makes me so happy is because I know that it wasn't something that came supernatural to you before. And I don't know if you remember this, but like we were at Kit after one of those Lotus practices, and I told you like you weren't going to start for a tournament, and it was a tough conversation. I didn't want to have it.
Was it all? Were we talking about offense?
Maybe
I
it
think
might have been switching you. I think we were just not even starting you. I mean, honestly, it was to the point I called Nut on the drive home from a practice and be like, I don't know what to do with Kins. What do you think? And I had to
for a Lotus practice.
Yeah, and I even talked to Bob during the Lotus season when it wasn't he wasn't super involved with us,
Yeah.
So what I will say to recap that is I appreciate that I can have a conversation with you and that you care about it so much that you will work at it. But I think that's like a lot of like what all of you were touching on, the continuity pieces, like the fact that Quinn and Kins have been teammates for a long time. Liam, you've been in this culture for a long time in the Triangle area and Darkside. I should maybe say more specifically Darkside. But it's even like when sometimes we'll call a set like on a pull play, whatever, like everything we do, by the way, is like at this point some iteration of dark side offense because of Nut.
Oh yeah, we just copied you guys.
Oh yeah, big time. But like if you sometimes like
Thanks.
instead of running like a different pull play, maybe you just run the same one 7 times in a row, not because you think you can just beat the other team, but like as they adjust, you kind of get familiar with the reads. You know what I mean? Like maybe like this next time we expect them to play this way, so we'll counter this way. So the fact that like Kins and Quinn, you have been now running like early in your careers, we were just like reinventing the wheel every year, and we're not doing that as much anymore. We are iterating, that keyword that Leah mentioned earlier. And I think that allows, I think it makes it easier to give and receive feedback when you're like getting into the nuance of things. And the fact that Liam has been more or less been running the same stuff at higher and higher levels for Liam, how long have you been playing? 10 years already?
Yeah, those systems, I guess 8 years since my first year on Triforce, similar stuff. I mean, it changes a lot. We ran a bunch of vert and stuff, different stuff, but the spread and those pull plays and stuff, similar stuff for 6, 7, 8 years.
And concepts, yeah. Any other thoughts on this topic before?
I hear you guys, and I just want to say that I think you're wrong.
That's fine.
No, I'm just kidding. I was angsty when I came back from labrum. We've talked about this before. But even then, like, I was a really shitty teammate for that one game against Revolver. But then I feel like a bunch of people were like, yo, Kins, you're being a shitty teammate. And then I was
people did not want to play with you. Did we never say this to your face? Or are you just like...
Yes, we did. I remember being super sad after the first game of Pro Champs, being like, damn.
Yeah, I think you knew you messed up.
And then I did. And then, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I felt like whatever. Anyway.
I think that's another.
This turned into a Kins therapy session.
No, I think that's another interesting topic is like return from injury. And like injury as a integral part of our sport. I feel like there's so many things like that, like when we put so much into the sport and when we're like not able to compete, it like really changes our lives. And I can like totally understand that.
Built up, dude.
Yeah.
It was built up. Me and Quinn almost fought. We talked about it. Lotus Bravo scrimmage, dude. I was angry. I also shaved my head, so I was just like, I think that makes you. I don't know what it is. Like, I think there's like a science thing behind that, but I think when you shave your head, you become a little bit angrier. I don't know. At least that's the effect it took on me.
Totally.
The hatred came out.
Yeah, no, it is. It's so much built up. I think there's so much built up, energy, for lack of a better word. Like I was so, and also like doubt and wanting to prove that you haven't like lost anything. Like I was so just incredibly amped up. Like for all I remember like that scrimmage. Like I was just, I mean, I go hard in like most games, but like I was going incredibly hard in that scrimmage. Or like that revolver game, I remember was like I was so fired up and like just emotional like the whole time. Definitely a cause of that injury.
Yeah.
It is
it's super interesting. I never thought about it this way, but when Liam said that, like I've had like one, knock on wood, I'm very fortunate to like have like one bad injury in my career. And it wasn't even the concussion because that kept me out for less than a month. But junior year of college, I like partially tore something in my elbow. And I missed like the end of the season. And then I came back for regionals. And I remember during that tournament, I think Bob had to talk to me like 2 or 3 separate times to like chill out and stop being such a douche to the other team. Just because I was just on an absolute tear. Like I remember we played A&M and I was just like talking so much shit and just like edge spiking everything as hard as I could. And Bob was like, dude, you've got to chill out. Like you have to stop. And I was like, what is he like? I don't even know what's going on with me.
You just black out.
Yeah, I was
100% testosterone.
Dude, 100%. I was just like blacked
dude.
out. Like I didn't know what was going on. And we missed nationals the year before. And it was just like it was a whole culmination of craziness.
A lot of built up something.
Yeah.
Liam, so I'm going to sprinkle in some fan questions that are sort of relevant here. Jerry Swider asks, what was it like playing lefty only when your right arm was in a cast? I mean, you didn't take time off for that injury. What was that like?
Easier before I knew my hand was broken. So I played a tournament with the broken hand, playing righty, or like righty and lefty, and that was a lot easier than playing with the cast. I don't remember if I was cleared to play, honestly. I think the doctor said if you have the hard cast on, it's fine. But it was really difficult. It was like a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be because my lefty throws are like pretty good, pretty serviceable. Like I think I could play a game lefty.
Were you like throwing upfield too?
I was throwing upfield backhands. I threw some lefty backhand hooks. I threw some dots in practice. But
damn.
But the catching was the hard part. Like just all of your like muscle memory of like catching is just totally wrong. So I was just questioning everything. Like even discs that I would like normally catch with my left hand were just it was just like really confusing. I had
You're thinking about
everything, and like you don't think about catching. Like nobody thinks like I don't know. I've caught a bunch of frisbees, so like I don't think about catching anymore.
Yeah.
But like every catch was like, how am I going to catch this disc? Am I going to drop it? And it was a lot of times it was yes, I am going to drop it.
Does anybody know who Jerry Swider is? Do anybody?
I do not.
Thank you for the question.
I don't either. I was kind of hype. I was like, that's awesome. That's a big milestone for the pod.
Yeah, thanks Jerry, by the way, for the question. He's been, I think, pretty actively following, watching. So we greatly appreciate that.
We love all our fans and our followers.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Please. The algorithm. All right, so let's move on to the landscape of the sport. We know we can talk about the AUDL a little bit, but where do you see the sport going in 5 to 10 years? And I'll loop in a question from somebody I think all of us know, Manny Eckert. He asked, what are your thoughts on the AUDL and why did you decide to play this year? Which you already kind of answered. So maybe we'll just stick to the landscape question. And if you want to say anything to Manny.
Landscape question. Yeah. Main answer for Manny's question is the AUDL isn't my favorite version of the sport, but is a version of the sport and allows me to see my friends and allows me to compete in some way. And it's free, which is cool.
Pretty nice. Shout out Mike D, right?
Yeah. Big money Mike. I think the landscape of the sport, I've been thinking about it a ton. I liked a lot of Pavel's answers. I think like youth investment is the way to go for me. I think like I'm not a big fan of growth for growth's sake in general. Like I want to think about like what we're achieving, what our goals are, specifically around like what do we want? What like I'm more into change than growth. Like what sport do we want to be? Who do we want to target? Who do we want to be a part of our community? And I think like a lot of those questions come to equity and like creating opportunities for diverse groups of people to be a part of our sport, and like having equal opportunity to have like all like I just think about like all the privileged experiences I've had because of the sport, and I want everyone to be able to have those experiences. So I think like the best way to do that is through youth. And I think like the AUDL is it's like a tough balance because obviously having a bunch of money in the sport allows for new different people to be able to play. Like it's a privilege even still to be able to play in the AUDL and have the time away from work and those types of things. But like, is the AUDL the sport that we want? Is it the sport that we fell in love with? For me, it's like not exactly, and I think a lot of the things that like growth entails, like I think we lose like in growth, in getting a ton of money in the sport, we lose a lot of the things that were important for me falling in love with the sport. A lot of the like, things that make it illegitimate are like a lot of the things that I really love. And to the legitimacy point, like I like, is it such a great thing to be legitimized by like dominant Western culture? I don't know. Like a lot of the things that are legitimized by dominant Western culture are like not awesome things for people and planet. So I love Frisbee. I love playing Frisbee. I love competing. I love the relationships that Frisbee has created. I don't know if like everyone playing Frisbee and traveling all around the world on airplanes to play Frisbee is like the future for the sport and the planet that I like am going straight for without questioning. I think I'm like in my life in general, I'm in a big questioning phase post college. How do I want to build my life? And
right.
I think like, yeah, growth for growth's sake is like not something I'm into.
It's not it.
Yeah. I think it just has to be intentional. Like, what do we want? And let's do that. Let's not just do what people say we should do. Let's not become some other sport. Let's not become successful because like that's what we see. Like, let's do what we want, not what we see.
Right. Yeah, I like that a lot. When you talk about youth, how do we? What do you have any thoughts on how we do invest in youth? Like, what resources is it? Is it just about more coaching? Is it about more players volunteering time? How do we get there, and how do we target certain communities?
Yeah, I think like I'm definitely in a privileged position in the Triangle of we have a lot of infrastructure already built, and it's a lot of like, hey, we need so and so number of coaches, and like people just have to go coach because the teams are already there, and the administration is already there through Triangle Ultimate, which is like an amazing organization run by really incredible people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's harder to like start from the ground up in like places where Frisbee doesn't exist. But I think a big part of like the Triangle's success with youth is like, elite players coaching, elite players investing their time and energy and money into coaching. And like, that's why I am a good player, like 100%. I just got born in the right place and like picked up Frisbee at the right time to have like
A lot of
bunch
great
of
coaches,
a bunch of incredible coaches invest a ton of energy into me. So I feel super lucky with that. And like, that just makes me want to invest.
You don't give yourself enough credit, man.
It's
Yeah,
true, man.
very humble.
Like, it's true. Like, John started coaching me when I was like 13, and then like Matt started coaching me, and like, I don't know, I just had to listen and say yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
John is nut.
Yeah, nut's incredible.
Well, John is nut for everybody.
Do you guys
Yeah.
call
Oh,
him
yeah.
John?
John is nut. Some people
You
call
guys
him
just
John.
you guys call him John?
I call him John. Yeah.
Interesting.
Lots of people call him nut, but
I feel like if you meet somebody when you're 13 years old, do you call him nut?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I definitely used.
I'm calling.
I
him
definitely
start calling him Jonathan.
I definitely used to call him nut, but
Okay.
I call him John now. Yeah.
But now you have, it's more mutual.
Yeah.
I think
That's a good point, though.
That's
I mean, I'm
yeah.
just playing with Jonathan for like 1 year on. That sounded so weird. Just on 1 year on Summit, like I definitely he's a great teacher, and I envy you to be taught by him from such a young age. But I think you could give yourself a little bit more credit. I do.
Thanks, Quinn.
It's awesome that you're so humble at the same time.
Of all your coaches, could you name one as the most impactful?
Probably not. I think like, I mean, John's probably the most. Jonathan is probably the most.
Jonathan.
Most impactful, I would say. Like, as a pure coach, I think like MGH Matt is like, probably my best friend, and like coached me on Darkside, coached me on Triforce and stuff. So that like, and he's just like a really gifted communicator, really gifted like team leader, North Star kind of person and player.
North Star.
Kind of in this same vein, is there someone when you were younger? Is there someone a player that you looked up to and kind of wanted to watch and model your game after? And I know I have a couple, but I was curious about if you have anybody.
Yeah, actually, funny enough,
it doesn't have to be in your community either. It can be across the whole world.
Yeah, like Ben Laurie is somebody that I watched a lot, and somebody who I like really looked up to.
Yeah.
Like you can tell just the way that dude like carries himself on the field that he's like just a super solid person, and like super selfless player since like I guess 2014. No, before that maybe. Whenever he played U24s, I guess it was 2014. 2013, yeah. When it was still U23s or whatever, was like, I like really liked his game, really liked how well-rounded he was. his ability to like catch unders and like do the right thing with the disc. I think everybody my age watched Jimmy and wanted to be like Jimmy also, but like Ben, like Jimmy's 6'4", dummy quick, like
yeah.
I wasn't gonna be Jimmy, but I think like
Jimmy does some things that no other players do. But
Yeah.
Ben is a better athlete than Jimmy.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. He just always looked like he was doing the right thing for the team. And yeah, I told him that at nationals this past year, like what an awesome career. Like that dude was always a winner, regardless of what his team was doing, whether they were winning or losing. Like it was just obvious that he was always a winner.
Yeah. I love this because if there's anybody listening out there, the tens of you, watch some footage of Ben Laurie play.
Hell yeah.
He is such a good example of what to do on the field. And going back to the feedback question too, he is the best about receiving feedback. He'll give it in a concise and respectful way. He even does things like, for me as a coach, he made it more comfortable for me. I would ask for his opinion, and he would be like, well, like, honestly, we just trust you to make the decision. So whatever you decide, we're happy with. So like little things like that just make everybody feel more welcome and cohesive, and it goes so unnoticed. Well, obviously it doesn't go unnoticed because we talk about Ben all the time. But there are little things that other people don't realize can have such a great impact on other people. It just like Liam was saying earlier, hit that quota of positive feedback. Like just think of one or two good things to say about somebody. Like, you did this really well at this practice, or I admire that about you. And then you can build that rapport and those relationships, which is so key when you're in the heat of the moment. So at this point, if I yell at Kins or Quinn in a game, like, they know, like, Mike, you're kind of being a dick, but Kins knows as he shakes his head.
I don't take feedback.
He knows that I care about him, though, and it just
not a
it hits
feedback
different.
player.
Bring in the whole culture shift thing again, full circle with Ben. When we were like in our darker years, and we were running some crazy systems that may or may not have been good, he was always, regardless of what the system was, it could have been the dumbest thing ever. Like, and everybody knew it, and he knew it, but he was like, "No, we got to buy in." He was always buying in to everything, no matter what, even to a fault almost. It was like so crazy, and that's it. Yeah, brings that whole thing full circle for me, I think.
What about y'all?
We strayed away from the.
I want to hear about y'all's players that you looked up to. Mike, you too.
Yeah, we this is a recurring topic on the show, so we might repeat a little bit, but happy to jump in.
Yeah.
No, not mentors, more like players when we were younger.
Okay.
That more play style based, not mentor based, more as a player.
Kins go first. Yeah, Kins go first.
Well, okay, yeah. So obviously Jimmy, that's the obvious one. Like, that's why I went to see you. I was growing up. Loved the Jimmy, liked how he could do everything.
Wasn't to play with me.
No. Definitely. Yeah, was high on Jimmy, big Jimmy guy. And then the other one that was a little less big time player, but still pretty big time, I was a big Simon Higgins guy. I was big on the Simon Higgins, man. Especially like just early young revolver. Simon Higgins was sick, like, because he could not only, like, I think, and it was like the versatility that I always wanted to model in my game, like the fact that he could go deep, cook you, go up and get it. Love that. But he could go get the under, and just as dangerous with the disc. I loved that. I loved that kind of what are you going to do one-on-one against this guy in the lane? Because either situation, you're not winning. Like, you're upset about either one. So yeah, I was a big Simon Higgins guy.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Ben is obviously my biggest role model, but not necessarily someone I modeled my game after. Two guys. First one, Cassidy Rasmussen, when he was in his prime, I was like, that's how I want to play. That's exactly who I want to be. Like, that's how I want to play. Because he was just so dominant at everything. He was kind of a meathead, like I am a little bit, and it was just like, it was perfect. He was, yeah, everything I wanted to be. And then another guy, Grant Lindsley, when he was more of a hybrid. I think these days he's more of a handler, more of a D-line handler, which he's great at still. But back when he was more of a cutter, he was someone I was like, wow, this guy is insanely good and exactly how I want to play. And I'm super stoked that he's playing in the West now.
Yeah.
So stoked about that, actually.
Welcome to Utah.
Yeah, I don't know why he's playing for them. Why
That's
didn't he come
super
play
confusing.
for us? But, whatever.
Or New York, right?
Yeah.
I'm very confused. Wouldn't they pay him?
That is confusing.
It's confusing, but I'm stoked we get to play against him.
Yeah. It's going to be great. Hopefully he makes those games.
Maybe he's Mormon.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
He's a monk. He's a monk.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to shred, man.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. That's the question answered. He's just trying to shred. Man, I used to have more players readily available, but like Quinn said earlier, I don't really play much Frisbee anymore. In fact, like this year, I'm planning to this is the Kins bomb of the week. I'm gonna go up to Grandmasters. I'm not even playing Masters anymore. I'm eligible for GM this year.
We can bring Lotus back, Mikey. We'll fuck it, dude. If you want to keep playing at the I'll start it again, dude. We can bring it back.
Import Brunker from LA, yeah. But a couple players. So Bart Watson, not play style. Like I cannot play. I don't really think anybody can play like Bart. There are a few players that maybe are the evolution of Bart nowadays. With like the super edgy, precise throws. He was in like an all around. He was a great receiver, great defender in his heyday. Did any of you get to watch much of Bart play?
A little bit, not too
You're
much.
all probably a little too young.
I definitely watched some like when
I really
when
think
he was
he's
still playing. But then I've watched all the Frisbee on YouTube.
Yeah, or you watched it back.
Yeah.
I watched him after we played him in that like COVID summer mini.
You got a hand block on him.
I hand blocked him. Everyone was like, that was Bart Watson. I didn't know who he was. And then I went back and watched his shit. And
I thought you hand blocked him twice.
I did do something.
One was completed.
No, one was caught.
Yeah,
one was caught. Yeah, that was really
remember
funny.
These things.
That's Bart Watson, bro. What are you talking about? That's like shot blocking, like Michael Jordan, like, but like when he's like on the Wizards.
Hall of Famer. I legitimately think he's one of the 5 best players of all time. The style was a lot different back then, though. Like the turnovers were way, way higher than they are now. But I kind of think of like Ryan Oscar as maybe the evolution of Bart. Like he throws with such good edge, and he is such a dynamic dual threat with the disc, without the disc. Superb athlete, but not like the best, and like not the tallest. Other players, one other that comes to mind right away is maybe Danny Karlinski. Because like he's more my play style, where it's like small ball oriented. When I started playing, I was a mixed player, and I was just like all about deep shots. I would just grip it and rip it. I would turn it over like crazy. And I thought that was sweet. I thought that's like the value that I brought to a team. And as I got older, I realized like that turnovers are really fucking stupid. There's no point. Like why we're not out here to play defense if we're receiving a pull. Yeah, honest. There is a balance. So you're right, Kins. Like I at times
get better throws.
I think of young players, if I could play like anybody on Mama Bird, it would probably be Seth Wells. But he could be a little more aggressive too. But, I just love the way he plays. But Karlinski, going back to him, like he was really part of that sockeye era that I don't know if they started the small ball, but like in the early 2010s, they were all about small ball. Yep. Like it was like a 7-person dominator down the field. And maybe Truck is the evolution of that. But he was just so precise with everything, with his movements. One of the best throwers I've ever seen. And he's a really good teammate and leader as well.
Nice.
Can we quickly go back to I love the future landscape of the sport topic, and I want to dive a little deeper into Liam's answer, because I agree with you on like one of my things with the AUDL is like I wish we didn't conform as much, right? And like I understand some of the things, like I understand maybe it's easier to like play on a bigger field if you're like at a stadium or like those types of like logistical things, like I suppose. But like I wish there was more emphasis on like, you know, some of the things that have been so near and dear to ultimate players, I suppose, for a long time, like spirit of the game. And I'm not necessarily the self-officiating, because the more I think about it, like the more I think at like higher levels, and like you can touch on this too, Liam, like I don't know, I'm kind of out on like self-officiating at like the highest level of the game, just because I think mostly people aren't that aware of the rules, and I think that makes it difficult. But I'm curious to know, like, what are some of the things, like if you were building a picture of what you would want Ultimate to look like at a high level, what are some things that you would want to maintain, like in a sport that maybe people could get paid to play and have that opportunity? Like, what are some things though, like in your ideal world, that Ultimate would still have?
That's a great question. I like, this is initially a kind of a it doesn't work with your question super well. I love lined sidelines. Like I don't like stadiums that much. Like I really like I think like the best games I've ever been a part of, like there were just like 2 rows of people around the entire like spectator line, and like it felt like really intimate, really like everybody was like really close. And I think that's like just awesome thing. Doesn't really, like, you can't really fit a ton of people in that. So probably wouldn't work super well for making money. I think like the money is just, it's hard. Like I think a lot of the things that I really love, like money gets in the way of to some extent. Things that I would like to keep. I think the smaller field,
like almost if you were looking at, keep going.
Smaller field. I think like the tough thing with the self-officiating is like the sport was not designed to be officiated by officials. So like the sport will have to change, like has to change to be officiated, which like, of course, you know, basketball didn't have a 3-point line forever. So like, you know, there's like things that are going to change and going to have to change that like really change the shape of the sport in some major ways. But like, I don't think you can just like add refs to Frisbee, because like, I don't know. And like, and spirit of the game too, like there are lots of things in Frisbee where like the rules are built with spirit of the game in mind. And like, if you have put a ton of money into it, like, you know, it's super easy to cheat in Frisbee, like super duper easy. So like, I think there are ways in which like those things have to be maintained, or the sport has to be changed in some root ways, like picks and stuff. Like I don't know if like picks just aren't, like, did picks get called in the West? Did they call picks in the West?
No.
Picks, that's a good point. Like picks are so up and down. Like you can have a game, you can have like 5 games no picks, and then all of a sudden there'll be like 5 picks on a point. It's just like, are they looking for
and
it?
like fouling on the mark, things like that. That like
That's
in
a good
small
point.
space, like it's such a big field, and then there is also like basketball level of fouling. Like I feel like in soccer, like fouls are pretty obvious, like more obvious because like it's like if you fall down and you can tell when somebody gets tripped, kind of. But like with the hand checking and stuff in frisbee, I think it's like hard to referee that size of field. So like, I think the referees are really bad, but it's like not really their fault because the sport isn't supposed to be refereed. It's supposed to be self-officiated. So I think that's kind of an issue. But like can be figured out by just like changing the sport or having.
Should we just allow picks?
I think like.
Should we just make picks legal?
I think the challenge with that is like
I actually don't.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't know what the main reason why they are not legal. I thought it was actually a safety thing, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's what I think it would be because I would fuck some people up if I could pick you. I'm brick
You're
wall
6'4",
fucking
120 pounds. You're not fucking anybody up, dude.
Try me, bro. 190. And like if someone's sprinting deep and I just like little shy shuffle, like whoop, watch out.
We just answered our own question of why they're not legal. Like that's it.
Maybe you could do it like at a low speed.
I
kind
of wish there was some like if you're within it would be tough to officiate, but maybe if you're within like 10 yards of the disc, you can set a pick or something. I don't know. I don't know how that would manifest, but I like the idea of picks being illegal from a safety standpoint, but I don't think that all picks are equal. I find a lot of pick calls very frustrating and not impactful on the outcome of any play. So from that perspective, like if there was it doesn't really. I think what you're saying is actually really interesting. I haven't thought about like the sport is not designed to be officiated, but I'm generally an optimist in terms of it's going to suck right away. But again, that iterative thought process, like we'll figure it out. The fear being right, like will the end product be the sport that we all love? And I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. I mean, Ultimate Force could be the answer. Who knows? I feel like picks on like a smaller
maybe
field.
I could still be playing.
Yeah, like that could be a thing.
Indoor
force picks are allowed. Stall to 3.
Yeah, yeah. Beach is super fun to watch.
It's like almost if you could get it where pick you like. It's not like you can't not intentionally set a pick, but like also if someone's in your way, and I don't know how you like would draw the line to like get people to not intentionally set. Maybe if you're intentionally setting a pick, that's a call. So like if I'm purposefully picking Quinn so that Liam can get open, that's a foul. But if Liam is cutting and like just rubs Quinn on me and like that just happens and like but like you know what I mean, like if it naturally occurs that Quinn's rubbing on me, like you got to let that go.
It's just the NFL. You just described the rule of the NFL, because there is routes in the NFL that are designed to pick
plays,
the cornerback, but they're not legal if you're trying to physically set them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And then what if we put pads on everyone? And helmets, and we just like fucked each other up. Like, what if we tried to bring? Hear me out. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but what if we tried to bring like severe head trauma into Ultimate? Like, just from like it's. I don't know. Whatever. It's just I don't know. Maybe that's a hot.
I played hockey for 10, 15 years, and the worst concussion I ever got was playing frisbee. So.
Yeah, true.
Because we're not wearing helmets and we're not trying to tackle each other, so we don't know how to.
All right, where are we headed here? Should I? We're wrapping in on the 2-hour mark here. I know it's late over there. Liam, you're definitely a guest that we could keep on for hours and hours because we are super interested in everything you have to say. But cut us off at any point. I want to ask you definitely some more fan questions, but Quinn, do you have any immediate thoughts on like recap topics that we've been asking Liam?
Now I'm gonna jump into the fan section and can always bring Liam back on the pod one day. I think there's a lot of things to talk about in season 2. Like, God, imagine like we started this pod off season. Like, imagine when like some crazy imagine when Liam gets into a fight in an AUDL game, and we bring him on the pod the next
first fight
week.
or second fight.
Just kidding.
I see.
Honestly, that's one thing that. Whoa. Wait, you've been in a fight, Liam?
Oh,
or
no,
what?
I'm going to get in a lot of fights this year in the ADL, so.
He's going to get in multiple fights.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that's the ref effect, man. Like, me personally, I was, like, you guys know, like, I was, like, always, like, people loved playing against me, all that stuff. I hopped in the ADL, and, like, all of a sudden, like, people were mad at me and, like, on the other team and stuff, which was so weird. Like, I think that's just the ref effect.
Sorry, go ahead, Quinn.
We could ask him. Well, Kins needs to answer this too, because when we had Pavel on, we were talking about potatoes and the favorite way to eat a potato. We could make that a recurring theme.
Your favorite way to eat?
I don't like that.
You don't?
But he is the potato, so.
But yeah. Maybe we'll leave it to
I am
Pavel.
curious. We need to figure out our merch game here. We gotta get merch made for all of our guests.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of merch, Mikey. I'm just gonna go out and say, like, I don't know if that's realistic.
Mikey works 3 jobs to buy all this merch for our guests.
Yeah. I got the cash.
Like maybe if you come on the pod, is that what you're saying? If you come on the pod, you can get some merch. Like, only our guests get merch. That could be cool.
All right, future discussion. All right, let's go into some fan cues here. So I think the Kins, this is probably one of your buddies here. I think Jonah Hams, not one of yours. You don't know him. You've actually already. We've probably touched on a lot of these, but I want to shout out some of the fans here. He asked, how did you become such a dominant player so young? I think you would chalk that up to coaching. But anything to add to that topic?
Cared a lot, tried really hard, thought it was cool to try hard, watched tons of Frisbee, got coached really well.
Yeah.
Was kind to people.
Watch Frisbee too, don't forget that. Yeah.
Wasn't annoying. Lots of coaches won't coach you if you're annoying, so don't be annoying, especially if you're really young. Like, don't be the kid that shows up to camp and is like really annoying. The coaches will not invest in you.
Wow, that's actually a good one. Victor Weller asks, what do you do besides play Ultimate? Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I do a ton of stuff. What's interesting? I built a tiny house. I live in a tiny house. I'm a Sawyer.
Are you in the tiny house right now?
I'm not. The Wi-Fi in the tiny house is bad, so I'm in my parents' house right now. But
no way.
Sick, dude.
And I'm a Sawyer, so I mill lumber outside all day, every work day. I've pet turtles. I really like turtles.
Whoa. Names?
There are a lot of them. There's 7 of them. So,
rapid fire, go.
How many turtles are we talking?
7 turtles. Froggy and Rex are yellow belly sliders. Bump and Rover are painted turtles. Dozer, Scoot, and Maple are Eastern box turtles. Yeah.
How big are they? Average.
The big ones are big. Little ones smaller. They're like the biggest ones are like that big, but they're like 3 years old.
We need
The biggest-
ounces.
I have
pounds.
I hold.
Do they?
I can look at the turtle tracking spreadsheet. I've got their weights, for their whole
please
lives.
share all of this. I'm
Dude, no way. Are they in the tiny house?
They're not. They're all outside.
they
They're
live
actually
outside.
they're not super
Yeah.
active right now because it's still cold. The water turtles just started coming out. I haven't seen the box turtles yet because they're down in the dirt, being warm. But
Yeah, please send us the data points. I love nerding out on our guests, and send us photos of photos with names.
This is gonna be our Liam merch is gonna be like little turtles in a tiny house.
The tiny house mutant turtle teenage. There's a joke there.
Yeah,
Teenage Mutant Tiny Houses.
then woodworking and stuff too just goes along with the tiny house and the job. But yeah. Stuff out of wood.
I wanted to ask that woodworking. What type of stuff do you make?
Let's see. Do I have anything around here? Yeah. This is like a key hook I made somewhat recently.
Oh, nice.
It's like carved cedar and then piece of red oak.
How do I get my hands on a Liam original?
I was gonna say, do you sell your stuff on Etsy or something?
I don't sell anything. It takes.
Yeah, didn't you guys get Liam's not about the money, bro?
Maybe
I'll pay. Will you bring something to nationals for us?
Sure. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what I can do. Maybe.
Okay. Whatever you can fit in the bag.
Make a pod practice. Make a pod practice.
Woodworking project. I'll think about that.
Oh, right. All right. Can't wait.
It could be like a trophy we give to someone, or we just have it in the background or something.
Definitely.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
I'll think about it.
I'll hang it right back here.
No, you don't. Why do you get it?
What do you mean? Why do I asked for it? You can have your own thing.
That's so childish.
All right, we can share it.
Mikey.
Sleeping Sammy asks, what inspired the growth of the stash?
Laziness. Yeah,
Dude, I feel that.
Didn't really like shaving.
If only you could grow a mustache, Kins.
Yeah, I realized I could do it. Both my uncles have mustaches. Kind of felt like a thing we did as Searleses. So,
do you think you'll keep it throughout your adulthood?
Maybe. I haven't shaved it in like a long time. It feels like kind of a commitment at this point. Like there are like sophomores and juniors on Darkside who've like never seen me without a mustache. So I don't know. I don't know if I could do that to them.
I'm also anti-shaving.
Clearly.
My face is the only thing I shave.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
Moving on. All right, we got a couple more.
Guys, like sometimes I just want to talk about more things on the pod, dude. I just feel like we only talk about Frisbee. Like, what if we just talked about like shaving our bodies, you know?
I think that would be a good thing to talk about.
Okay.
Maybe next guest.
Next guest.
But no, I agree.
Well,
I like it, Alex.
We do need to get into more live pod stuff.
human pod, not just Frisbee pod.
Do you shave your armpit skins? You do not.
No, I told you, bro.
Shave your nether regions.
Face is the only. I also only shave my face, really. One, because I look stupid because my facial hair is super bad, and two, because at my restaurant, my owner fucking chastises me if I don't shave. So
maybe this is we'll ask Della this question. What parts does Kins shave? All right, Liam. Couple more. Anthony Scabelli asks, which Frisbee player has the most on-field drip?
Most on-field drip. Ethan Bloodworth comes to mind. E-Blood is dripped out for sure.
He's dripped out, but I don't know if he looks good.
He's like that 2K player that spent all of his virtual currency on like his appearance and not on like upgrades.
The thing with E-Blood is it's like totally authentic though, you know, like that. I think who's the dude? Oh man,
it seems authentic.
I should know this guy's name, but the D guy for y'all
on our team
with the tattoos,
Seth Ferris.
Yeah, Seth Ferris.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool. Rafi Hayes was wearing a full like green jumpsuit and like chains before our semis game in 2021. Didn't work out super well for him, but
I remember
but
that.
it was
Yeah, he was
drippy
doing
for
that
sure.
all year.
I kind of like the big sports
I
sunglasses.
like Joe White's.
Nah, Joe sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe White with
Joe's
the
drip sucks.
Joe.
Yeah, this are the sunglasses going to make be a mainstay for the frisbee players?
I don't get them. It's just a phase, Mom. It's just a
Just
phase.
fade, Mom.
You skipped Siraj's question, Mike.
I know. I'm coming back, but
It's because it wasn't.
not a
It's because it wasn't a question.
Kins, will you read this? You probably have a better Siraj than I do.
I feel like I want to go back to Pavel's thing, which is like no free clout, dude. This is just free clout for Siraj.
Right.
No, he said, yo, okay, yo, exclamation points. No question. Just tell him he's handsome and I love him.
That's nice.
I actually love all these fan questions from like 4 people that I don't know. Like,
Kind of cool.
that's awesome, man. I
They're
really
great
like that.
questions.
That's the first one that we have, Liam. That I like, especially the one about when you got hurt. I was like, that's a really
Deep
good.
cut.
I was like, that's a like coming back and playing with the cast. I was like, that's a good question. So, shout out to the fans, man,
I just
making this all possible.
I just came up with one more like topic that I can't believe we didn't touch on, but the last game that we were all on the same field with, this is kind of a 2-parter. So the first point of this game, Fall Nationals quarterfinals, second point of the game, first O point for you guys. You come out and you sky the pants off of Saeed Semrin, like sweet catch, kind of a moon ball, not a great throw, left you out to dry, and you come down with it.
But
I think
Liam, how tall are you?
I'm a little over 6 feet. I don't know.
Yeah, so you sky the pants off Saeed. Yeah. And that was like the first play of the game for you guys, basically. I know, and I think that like set the tone for the game. Like, I think it gave your team a lot of confidence. They were just like, wow, like our guy, our captain, like probably our best player, just roofed the shit out of them, and it's like it kind of set the precedent for the game. It felt like. Kind of want to get your take on like what was going through your mind then, and then also what happened on the big Callahan play that they just crushed us, and that was like probably the moment that I knew my college career was over. Just kind of just like your thoughts on like those.
Is that the best play you've ever made?
Yeah, definitely. I actually at like moment and everything, of course. Yeah, best like play in the biggest.
The pull to Callahan too is so epic.
Yeah.
Like, that's a rare accolade that not many people can get. Like, pulling to getting the Callahan on the same point is like, you don't. That's fucking awesome.
I mean, that game just.
I love that shit.
As a whole, like I was just that feeling you get when you're just kind of blacked out and like you're just like totally in a flow state of like you're not having to think about anything. You're just like acting and like the game is kind of flowing through you rather than you're like processing things. I definitely got into that early in the game, and I think that catch was a big part of it. Like you kind of need that first play to get into that, like get out of the jitters. And I was lucky to have whoever threw that. I think Durs threw that to me. Throw the sky ball and be able to make that play and get into it a little bit. And
should I go get Saeed and we can remind him of it? He's just down the hall, man. We can.
An awesome dude.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Take us to the Callahan too. We gotta know about that.
Yeah, kind of can't believe that Tape threw that. Honestly,
Seriously.
All right, so we're all on the same boat then.
I mean, I was not guarding. Like, it makes sense because he was like Jarv was really open, but I just saw it like hang up a little bit and then took 3 hard steps and laid out. But I think my best pure play
Yeah, it
ever
kind of
was
looks
at
like you.
the Richmond Cup, like whatever, 2
Oh.
summers ago. I like had this crazy catch. It's not on film, but I was on offense and like laid out past somebody on a deep shot. And I think it would like, I don't know if it was bigger than that, but it was like, it felt a lot bigger than that. But yeah, I caught it with my right hand because I can't catch with my left hand. And yeah, that was it.
Same.
Yeah, like I'm always going to catch it like that, going that way.
Play though.
Yeah,
I did the same
crazy,
thing.
man.
I literally never go up with my left hand.
Okay, I got to take a piss. Can I just run off and do that for a second?
Yeah. Take your time.
That happens.
All right, I'm going to then.
I pissed before. Yeah, it's like a pod timeout.
Welcome back.
Quick pisses from both of you. Maybe a little dehydration situations.
Definitely not dehydration. I got a small bladder, though, I will say.
Small bladder gang.
Kins, do you want?
I got a fucking huge bladder. That shit's massive.
You would, Alex.
Dude. Yeah. Dude, I'm just saying, like, it's crazy.
It would be something you'd brag about, too.
If we're talking about bladders, man, like, I can fucking hold that shit, and I'll pee for, like, fucking, I don't know. I want to record my shit because I could go for, like, 2-3 minutes, I think.
On a scale of 1 to 10 of having to, 10 being how badly you have to pee, and 1, like you're totally dehydrated. What number would it have to be when you're going to sleep to get you out of bed to actually pee?
Dude, I hold that shit out of pride, dude. Like, I'm telling you. Like, I got my bladder is crazy.
I get out of bed at like a 1. Yeah, it's a 1, right? If I have to go. Yeah.
I think that's I think you actually might want to see the doctor.
I was talking.
Are we talking like a nap or
bedtime?
Like you're going to bed, you're at a 1.
I'm going pee. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night to pee. I'm not doing it.
You gotta go before you go to sleep, but like I actually I'm not a wake up in the night and go pee guy unless I'm like traveling or something. That's not my thing.
All right, so let's say
I don't do that. But maybe that could be the bladder thing.
You wake up at 2 a.m.
I don't.
Well, say you wake up at 2 a.m. Any of you. What's the level then?
And you're just going. You're going. If you wake up, you're going.
At a 1? You're going at a 1?
Maybe it stretches to a 2. But like it's uncomfortable.
Liam and I are on the same page.
And to be fair, Liam's in tiny house. So how far away does he have to go pee?
The loft. There's a sleeping loft in the tiny house, so I have to go down a ladder. And then out the door.
You gotta go farther than everyone.
I'm like 7. There's no way I'm going down this stairs.
The ladder's tough because I'm like half asleep.
Dude,
going down the ladder. It can get dicey. It's a little dangerous.
At that point, dude, I'm washing the sheets and fucking fuck the bed, dude.
You got a pee jar?
I'm pissing.
You gotta get a jar next to your bed.
No, dude, fuck it. I'll shower. I'll wash the sheets. I'm just pissing, dude. I'm not even moving.
I have never confirmed that this is true, but I lived with Pete Gleason, Coach Pete, Pistol Pete, now soon to be Papa Pete in about 2 weeks or less. Old Mama Bird guy, he would literally say this. He would rather just piss himself in bed than get up to pee in the middle of the night.
Fuck yeah. I always knew me and Pete were similar, man. Like I think because I was a freshman and Pete was my coach, like, maybe we didn't connect as much as we could have in our later years. I knew we were similar.
You would like
people.
hanging out with him.
That's funny.
All right. Leah, we don't want to keep I know it's almost midnight over where you are, but Kins, I think you might have had a question for him to close things out.
No, it's just I was wondering, it's funny, Liam, like we've never really talked, and I remember like the first time really talking to you, first time really expressing myself to you, I would say, was like right after we won nationals, and I was in a very emotional state. Do you remember?
Totally.
Well, like what I said
Yeah.
to you.
I remember some of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like it was very, it felt like scripted. Like, I think post winning, like something I'd been, working towards for a long time. And then like you being there being like, congrats, dude. That was, it meant a lot because like I said in that moment when I was in a very vulnerable state. Like I was expressing myself in a lot of ways, but, yeah, like it was cool to see you because as someone who's like we said, first time I played you, cornrows, Liam, U16, and I remember playing. I remember that specifically because like you were already a
Top level.
highly touted player, yeah. And so as someone who has always like wanted to be a good player myself, like it was cool. It was really cool, I didn't want to. I guess I wanted to bring that up again because it was a big moment for me, and you've had a big impact on my career for sure. As someone I've always wanted to I guess even as like we were going back to we were talking about players who were modeling our game after. I don't know if I like necessarily modeled my game after you, but definitely worked to be a good player like you were because you were always setting the bar. And then it became to be like you and John too. Like you and John just fucking always beating me. It was great to have you guys in your life. People that'll kind of fuck you up and make you want to get better. It's cool.
Thanks, Alex.
Nice
Yeah, that was yes, that was a really cool moment for me too. Like, I love that, like that euphoria, like just being around that is like so cool. And like those moments after winning where you like realize what matters and like that like you accomplished this thing and like it's just like such a cool reflective moment, and I feel really lucky that I was a part of that moment with you, so I appreciate it.
Dude, I feel like that was well said. Like I was thankful for like the ancestors of Ultimate in that moment. Like everyone who had put in like anything into Ultimate to like get me to feel this happy about anything. Like, I was like, thank you, world. Like I was in a real just happy, very happy, thankful, grateful moment. It was cool.
Totally.
It was cool. It was funny because I remember like I was loving everyone. I was like Trent Dillon and Matt Rader were like walking back into the stadium. We were all leaving. And I was like, I'd known Trent for a while, but like I had never really talked to Matt. And I was like, yo, Matt, like I just think it's really cool. Like obviously you've been doing this for a long time. Like just like a lot of respect for what you've done. Like it's awesome. And Matt was like way less in a good mood and was just like, yeah, like it's cool. Now we're both like doing it like on the same stage. And I was like, I don't even know if we are because you lost in like 3 quarters and we won. And he was just like not having it. Like the difference between those two situations was hilarious. Like some people, like Liam was Liam was a great person to talk to after that moment. Matt like a little less so. So this is funny. It's funny who you see. It's a day that I'll remember for a long time.
I have a similar pleasant experience with you, Liam. After it was probably like 3 or 4 a.m. and you were somehow in our house, and it was me, Maddie Jackson, and Cole Wallen all laying in our queen size bed together, and you were just kind of in the doorway. We were just chatting with you, and I have a very fond memory of that as well.
Yeah.
Me
too.
The winning memories. I always struggle to articulate this feeling because we talk about this a lot, how winning is the goal but not the goal. We all want to win, but it's all about it. It's that cliche, the journey, the working hard together, getting better, bonding, all those things. The one thing that winning gives you, though, it is sort of a relief. It's so therapeutic. It's validating, in a lot of ways. I am struggling to say it out loud, partially because I really don't want winning to be the main motivation for anybody. Because I just think there are so many factors that go into it that are out of your control. But like you were describing, being thankful for so many people that you didn't even know, or like opponents, like the fact that you can just have that sense of nirvana in that moment, like it kind of does take winning to be able to feel that way, unless you are maybe a Grant Lindsley and a Buddhist monk or something like that, who's fully let go of all earthly attachments. But yeah, my point is it is a special thing, and it's cool to hear about your interactions as opponents and peers.
No, yeah, that was a cool moment for me. I just remember that. It is weird though. Like it's like when you climb a mountain. Like why does it feel so good? Like when you're at the top. I don't know. Like it shouldn't be like maybe you should just focus on like each step climbing up the mountain, but it still feels good when you're at the top of it. Yeah. Maybe because it's also like that's when you're appreciating the beauty of the mountain the most. Kind of like you said, you get the view, and that's kind of like what I was getting. I don't know. That's a deep analogy, but it is kind of like that. Yeah. Like you really stop to look around, but maybe that's the point. Maybe you should look around the whole way up. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's
Sagekins.
Yeah, I think perspective is like a big part of it. Like it's just a change in perspective. Like you get to see a lot more. I like that analogy a lot, Alex. And I think like it's not like climbing a mountain is really hard if you're not looking at your feet. So like you kind of have to be in the individual moments as you're getting there, or else you're like not going to be super successful. But then like that release, and euphoria when you get to the top, like, you know, allows you to.
You can take it all in finally. Yeah.
Take it all in. Realize what
this is a great analogy to winning, and it's definitely going in. It's definitely going into the cost of buying in. Maybe even chapter one of the cost of buying in will be the climbing the mountain analogy. This is great. Well, hell yeah.
You North Carolina boys have a way with words. Anything for us? Any questions for us before we let you go to bed?
I don't think I have any questions. Just big congrats to y'all on the pod. Like you all have already improved a ton as podcasters over your however many episodes it's been.
Thank you.
I think like that's such a cool thing about podcasts is like people get so much better at it. Like I listen to some podcasts, some sports podcasts, and like from listening to like the first episode to the 50th episode to the 100th episode of podcasts, like it's kind of like night and day. And I'm already seeing that like transition with y'all, or you're more comfortable, and like it's cool. And I'm excited to get back on the whatever the 50th episode.
Thanks, Liam. Yeah, cool. We definitely want you on again.
Definitely.
Another great analogy. You're gonna suck at the beginning of whatever you do. You just
that's not an analogy, Mikey. That's just a description. That's not that's not an analogy. What the fuck is that?
Is it a metaphor? No, I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, it's nothing. It's not any of those terms.
The idea
I could make an analogy if that was easy.
The analogy is like you go to altitude and you start climbing the mountain, and at first the altitude gets to you, but like afterwards.
What I'm trying to say is just start whatever you're trying to be good at, and don't worry about being bad right away. You'll get better.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet. Liam,
get the outro music going.
Thanks for joining the pod with us for episode 8. Good luck to Darkside until you run into us at Nationals. Hopefully we'll be able to knock one out.
Yeah.
And bet that next time you win a big tourney, Liam, I'm going to be there on the sideline to greet you in your euphoria.
Thank you. Sweet.
All right, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Peace out.